The town of Ravens Creek lay silent under the pitch-black sky, the only illumination coming from the occasional flicker of jack-o'-lanterns grinning eerily from porches. Halloween decorations danced in the chilling October breeze, casting distorted shadows that seemed to watch me as I made my way down the deserted street. It was well past midnight, and the festive charm had long since faded into an unsettling stillness. I had just left my friend Sarah's Halloween party on the outskirts of town, dressed in a vintage 1920s flapper costume, complete with fringes and a feathered headband. The laughter and music still echoed faintly in my ears. As I approached my aging sedan parked under a dim streetlight, I unlocked the door and slid into the driver's seat, eager to be home. Turning the key in the ignition, I was met with a sputter, and then nothing. I tried again, pumping the gas pedal lightly, but the engine refused to come to life. "You've got to be kidding me," I muttered, frustration creeping in. Reaching for my phone to call for help, I discovered the battery had died, a black screen staring back at me. I let out a heavy sigh. Of all nights for this to happen. With no other options, I decided to walk to the nearest gas station, Sam's Gas and Mart, about a mile down the road. Pulling my coat tighter against the biting wind, I started the trek along the lonely stretch of highway. The sound of crunching leaves under my heels was the only companion to the rhythmic thump of my heartbeat. The further I walked, the more the silence pressed in, broken only by the distant howling of the wind. After what felt like an eternity, the neon sign of the gas station flickered into view, casting a sickly glow over the empty parking lot. A rusty pickup truck was parked near the entrance, but otherwise, the place seemed deserted. I felt a slight unease but brushed it aside. This was my best chance to find help. I pushed open the glass door, a bell chiming overhead. Inside, the fluorescent lights flickered sporadically, and the air smelled of stale coffee and cleaning supplies. An old radio behind the counter played a faint country song that did little to soothe my nerves. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding small in the vast emptiness. There was no response. I approached the counter and tapped the service bell. The sharp ding echoed unnervingly. After a moment, a man emerged from a door marked "Private." He was tall and lean, with a gaunt face and deep-set eyes that seemed to pierce right through me. His apron was stained and his hands were rough and calloused. "Car trouble?" he asked, his voice gravelly. "Yeah, my car won't start and my phone died. Do you have a phone I could use to call a tow truck?" I replied, attempting a polite smile. He paused before nodding slowly. "Phone's in the back office. Follow me." A knot formed in my stomach. Something about him put me on edge, but I reasoned that I was just being paranoid. It was late, and I was tired. He led me through the employees-only door into a cluttered back room filled with boxes and outdated equipment. The smell of damp cardboard was overwhelming. He pointed to an old rotary phone mounted on the wall. "Thank you," I said, picking up the receiver. I pressed it to my ear. No dial tone. I jiggled the cradle and tried again. Still nothing. "It's not working," I said, turning to face him. He had moved closer, standing uncomfortably near me. "Lines go down sometimes," he replied, his eyes never leaving mine. "Is there another phone I could try?" I asked, taking a subtle step back. He shook his head slowly. "Afraid not." An uneasy silence settled between us. I could feel my pulse quickening. "Maybe I'll just wait outside until someone comes by," I suggested, edging toward the door. He stepped sideways, blocking my path. "No need to rush off. It's cold out there. You can wait here," he said, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Alarm bells rang loudly in my mind. "I really should get going," I insisted, my voice wavering slightly. His hand shot out and gripped my wrist with surprising strength. "I insist," he said, the smile disappearing. "Let go of me," I exclaimed, adrenaline surging as I yanked my arm free. Without a second thought, I bolted past him, knocking over a stack of boxes that scattered across the floor. My heart pounded in my chest as I raced back into the store's main area. Footsteps thundered behind me. I darted down an aisle, frantically searching for an escape route or something to defend myself with. My eyes landed on the restroom door near the back. I sprinted toward it, flung the door open, and locked it behind me. The small bathroom offered little security. A single stall, a grimy sink, and a tiny window too high and narrow to crawl through. My breath came in ragged gasps as I listened intently. The doorknob rattled. "Open the door," the man's voice demanded, calm but laced with menace. "Leave me alone," I shouted, scanning the room for anything I could use as a weapon. My gaze settled on a heavy porcelain lid from the toilet tank. I grabbed it, gripping it tightly in both hands. "You can't stay in there forever," he taunted, pounding on the door. The hinges creaked ominously with each impact. Fear threatened to consume me, but I steeled myself. As the door began to splinter, I positioned myself beside it, ready. With a final crash, the door burst open. He stumbled in, momentarily off balance. I swung the porcelain lid with all my might, striking him across the head. He let out a grunt of pain and staggered backward. Seizing the opportunity, I dashed past him and into the store. My mind raced. I had to get out of there. As I reached the entrance, another figure stepped out from behind a display, a woman with cold eyes and a predatory smile. She held a length of rope in her hands. "Going somewhere?" she asked mockingly. Panic surged. I grabbed a shelf laden with canned goods and shoved it toward her. Cans clattered to the floor as she dodged aside, but it gave me just enough time to push through the door and run into the night. The cold air hit my face as I sprinted across the parking lot toward the highway. Behind me, I could hear them giving chase, their footsteps and shouted curses fueling my desperation. Up ahead, a pair of headlights appeared, an approaching vehicle. I waved my arms frantically, screaming for help. "Please, stop! Help me!" The car slowed to a halt beside me. It was a pickup truck driven by an older man with kind eyes and a concerned expression. "What's going on? Are you all right?" he asked. "Please, you have to help me. They're trying to hurt me," I cried, glancing over my shoulder. He looked past me toward the gas station, then back at me. "Get in," he said, reaching over to open the passenger door. Relief washed over me as I climbed into the truck, slamming the door behind me. As we pulled away, I saw the silhouettes of the man and woman standing under the gas station's flickering lights, watching as we sped off into the darkness. "Thank you so much," I gasped, my whole body trembling. "They attacked me. I don't know why." "Don't worry now," he assured me, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. "Can you take me to the nearest police station?" I asked, trying to steady my breathing. He nodded. "Of course." For a few minutes, we drove in silence. The adrenaline began to ebb, leaving me exhausted. I stared out the window at the passing trees, their branches reaching out like twisted fingers. "Not many folks out on Halloween night," he remarked finally. "I guess not," I replied weakly. "I just want to get home." He gave a slight smile. "I bet you do." As the minutes passed, I noticed we weren't heading toward town. The road grew narrower, the surroundings more remote. "Excuse me," I said cautiously. "I think the police station is back that way." He didn't respond. "Sir?" I pressed, a sense of unease creeping back in. He reached over and clicked the door locks. "Don't worry, we'll get there," he said, his tone devoid of warmth. My heart sank. "Why did you lock the doors?" He sighed, his gaze still fixed ahead. "Safety first. Roads can be dangerous at night." Every instinct screamed at me that something was terribly wrong. I tried the handle, but the door wouldn't budge. "What do you want?" I whispered, fear tightening its grip. He glanced at me, his eyes cold. "Same thing they wanted." A chill ran down my spine. I frantically searched my surroundings and spotted his cell phone sitting in the cup holder. Desperate, I snatched it and tried to unlock it, but he grabbed my wrist with a vice-like grip. "Now, that's not polite," he said sternly. In a burst of panic-fueled strength, I wrenched my hand free and lashed out, scratching his face. The truck swerved as he yelled in pain. "You're gonna regret that," he growled, regaining control of the wheel. I reached into my purse and felt my keys. Grabbing them, I aimed for his eyes, but he caught my arm, slamming it against the dashboard. Pain shot through my elbow. We struggled as the truck veered dangerously on the road. In the chaos, I managed to hit the power window button. The glass slid down, and I screamed into the night. "Help! Somebody help me!" He slammed on the brakes, and I was thrown forward against the seatbelt. Before he could react, I unlocked the door and threw myself out of the moving vehicle. I hit the ground hard, the impact jarring every bone in my body. Ignoring the pain, I scrambled to my feet and dashed into the dense woods lining the road. Branches whipped my face and tore at my clothes as I plunged deeper into the darkness. Behind me, I could hear him crashing through the underbrush, his curses piercing the silence of the night. I pushed myself harder, adrenaline overpowering the throbbing ache in my limbs. Eventually, the sounds of pursuit faded. I slowed to a stop, chest heaving, ears straining for any sign of movement. The forest was eerily quiet, except for the rustling of leaves in the wind. I had no idea where I was, but I needed to keep moving. Pressing onward, I stumbled through the woods until, miraculously, I emerged onto another road. In the distance, headlights approached. I hesitated, fear battling with hope. But I couldn't stay in the open. As the vehicle drew nearer, I stepped onto the shoulder and waved desperately. It was a sedan this time, and it slowed to a stop beside me. The window rolled down to reveal a woman with a warm smile. "Are you all right? Do you need help?" she asked. "Please," I begged, tears welling in my eyes. "I need to get to the police. Someone is trying to kill me." Her expression shifted to concern. "Of course. Get in." I climbed into the passenger seat, and as we pulled away, relief began to wash over me. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice shaky. "You're safe now," she assured me. What happened? I started to explain, but as I glanced around the car, something caught my eye, a photograph hanging from the rearview mirror. It was a picture of the man from the gas station, the driver of the truck, and the woman beside me, all smiling together. My blood turned to ice. She noticed my gaze and followed it to the photo. A slow grin spread across her face. "Family means everything to us," she said softly, pressing the lock button on the doors. Horror rooted me to the seat. I reached for the door handle, but it was too late. I felt the tip of a sharp, cold metal object pierce my side. A knife. "Now be a good girl and stay put," she whispered. Despair consumed me as the realization settled in. I had fallen from one trap into another, and this time, there was no escape.